Imagine waking up in the sweltering heat of the Egyptian sun. There's no coffee, no air conditioning, and definitely no YouTube. You're not a tourist. You're a local, a laborer, a scribe, a slave, maybe even a priest. Welcome to ancient Egypt. You might think of pyramids, pharaohs, and golden treasures. But the real Egypt? It stank. It was loud. It was full of bugs, disease, strange gods, and even stranger punishments. So, could you survive a day in ancient Egypt? Let's find out. Your day begins before sunrise. There's no alarm clock, just the screams of livestock, temple bells, or your master yelling at you. If you're a farmer, you rush to the fields. If you're a builder, you're already late for pyramid duty. Breakfast? If you're lucky, a small piece of bread, maybe some onions or figs. Water? Often polluted from the Nile. Most people drank beer. Yes, even kids, because it was safer than water. But don't smile yet. The beer was thick, sour, and full of floating chunks. Now off to work, with the sun beating down and no labor laws in sight. You're not building the pyramids for fun. You're ordered to. Contrary to popular belief, most workers weren't slaves, but it still sucked. You move massive limestone blocks using wooden sleds soaked in water. Your tools? Copper chisels that go dull every hour. Your reward? Bread, beer, maybe a small coin, and chronic back pain. The overseers shout. The sun scorches. Someone next to you collapses. No one stops. This is not the history class version. This is your actual job. After work, you don't get to relax. You must pray. A lot. The gods are everywhere. Ra, Anubis, Thoth. If you sneeze at the wrong time, it's bad luck. Step on a scarab? Your crops might die. You leave a small offering, bread or incense, at a local shrine. Not because you want to, but because you're terrified. In ancient Egypt, the gods aren't kind. They're moody, vengeful, and always watching. Think you're poor. In ancient Egypt, poverty was expected. You're born into your job. You can't marry above your class. If a noble steals your goat, it's legal. If you steal his goat, you get your hand chopped off. There are scribes, priests, and royalty. And then there's everyone else. You. You might sleep in a mud brick hut next to your animals. Your bed is straw. Your pillow is a rock. Dream of pharaohs. But wake up in reality. You feel a fever coming on. Maybe it's malaria. Maybe something worse. Don't expect a hospital. Your village has a healer trained in spells and dung. For eye infections, crocodile dung mixed with honey. Toothache, dead mouse paste. Internal pain, lizard fat and beer. And leeches. Always leeches. You try to say no, but you don't really have a choice. Your healer chants something about the gods, rubs paste on your head, and walks away. You're still in pain, but now you also smell bad. You're 14. Congratulations, you're now old enough to marry. No ceremony, no rings. Just, you move in now. Your wife will probably give birth 7 to 10 times. Half the children might die before age 5. And if you're a woman, your job is everything. Cooking, cleaning, grinding flour, fetching water, making beer, and surviving childbirth without any painkillers. Love? Not required. Loyalty? Expected. Your neighbor accuses you of stealing his goat. You didn't, but that doesn't matter. You're dragged to a small court. No lawyers, no appeals. The judge asks if you did it. You say no. They beat you until you say yes. Then your nose is cut off. Or your tongue. Or a hand. If you're lucky, you just get 100 lashes. Justice in ancient Egypt, painful, public, permanent. You live every day preparing to die. The afterlife is your final exam, and failing it means your soul gets eaten by a demon called Amet, part crocodile, part lion, part hippo. So you save up for a proper burial, for a priest to recite the right spells, for your heart not to outweigh the feather of truth. If you pass, eternal paradise. If you fail, your lunch. No pressure. You don't just respect the pharaoh, you worship him. He's not a man, he's a living God. His word is law. His face is on coins. His tomb is larger than your entire village. You bow when you hear his name. You cry when he sneezes. If he wants your house, it's his. If he wants your daughter, you don't get to say no. You want to learn to read? That's cute. Literacy was reserved for the elite, mostly priests and scribes. If you're lucky enough to become a student, your school is a temple courtyard. Your pen is a sharpened reed. Your notebook? A broken piece of limestone. You sit in the sun all day copying hieroglyphs while getting smacked for bad handwriting. Mess up the spelling of pharaoh? That might cost you your fingers. You're hungry, but the Egyptian diet is repetitive. Bread, onions, beer. Bread, onions, beer. Bread. Did we mention bread? Meat? Only for the rich. Fruit? Seasonal. Milk? Spoils fast. Most people had rotting teeth from sand in their bread, caused by grinding with stone. You eat, you grit your teeth, and you hope that wasn't a bug in your beer. Ancient Egyptian women had more rights than most ancient civilizations. They could own land, file for divorce, even run businesses. But that didn't make life easy. Most women worked endlessly, inside and outside the home. And childbirth? Dangerous. There were no hospitals, no antibiotics, just herbs and hope. If a woman survived 5 or more births, she was a miracle, and still expected to bake bread the next morning. The sun finally sets. The heat fades. The stars appear. But peace? Still not guaranteed. You light an oil lamp. The room smells like burning fat. You lie on straw, praying the mosquitoes are merciful. You hear jackals howl. You hear temple drums. You hear your neighbor still arguing about a goat. And in the stillness, you wonder, will tomorrow be better? It probably won't. You think ancient Egypt was just pyramids and sand? Try crocodiles. Or hippos. Fast, aggressive, and always near the Nile. Scorpions. Snakes. Poisonous frogs. You could die from a mosquito bite, a parasite, or an infected splinter. And no one would even remember your name, unless you were rich. Then you'd get a tomb. You get eaten by fish. You were born free, until someone conquered your village. Now you carry stones to build a tomb for a man you've never met. You get 1 meal a day, stale bread and a sip of beer. You sleep outside, on sand, under the stars, and under guard. Try to run. You're whipped. Too slow. You're replaced. If you're lucky, you live long enough to see the tomb finished. If not, you become part of the foundation. One day a year, everything changes. The gods are celebrated. Beer flows like the Nile. Music, dancing, drums. Even the pharaoh looks down and smiles. You eat better that day. You laugh. You forget. Because tomorrow, the sun rises again, and the gods go silent. The Nile gives life. It waters your crops, feeds your family, connects one city to another. But it also takes. It floods without warning, carries crocodiles, drowns children, spreads disease. Every blessing is a gamble. You thank the gods for the river. Then pray it doesn't kill you. You're poor, hungry, desperate. But you know where gold sleeps, inside a tomb. So one night, you sneak past guards. You break the seal. Step into the dark. Walls painted with curses. Air thick with dust. You find treasure, and a skeleton still wearing a crown. Your hands shake. You grab what you can and run. But in 3 days, your family is dead. Some say it was the plague. Others say the curse worked. You lived in the heat. You worked with broken hands. You prayed to gods who never answered. And now, you're dying. Your breath slows. Your family whispers the final prayers. A priest arrives, muttering spells. He places a charm on your chest and hopes it's enough. Because if your soul fails the test, you won't just be forgotten. You'll be erased. You're dead, but your journey isn't over. You're standing before Osiris. Thoth records everything, and Anubis holds your heart in his hands. It's placed on a scale, against a feather. If your heart is heavy with sin, it tips. And Ammit, part crocodile, part lion, part hippo, devours your soul. No paradise, no afterlife, just erasure. But if you're pure, you sail across the stars forever. The rich prepared for the afterlife. Gold coffins, painted tombs, spells, scrolls, servants buried with them. But the poor, a shallow grave, a clay charm, and hope. Hope that someone will remember their name. Hope that death isn't just darkness, but mostly they fade. Just like the stories never written. History remembers pharaohs, gods, pyramids, but it forgets you, the farmer, the mother, the boy who died at 12 from a snake bite. No statues, no scrolls, just dust. But your sweat built the temples. Your pain fed the priests. Without you, Egypt never rises. The wind blows, the temples crumble, the gods are silent. But if you listen closely, the sand still whispers. It remembers a girl's laughter, a man's final breath, a festival drum echoing across the night. All gone, but not erased, just buried, waiting to be heard again. So, you lived in ancient Egypt. You were born in the heat. You worked until your bones cracked. You loved, feared, worshipped, bled. You prayed for rain. You laughed during festivals. You looked at the stars and wondered if the gods were listening. And when you died, you left behind nothing but dust and dreams. And yet, you mattered, even if no one remembers your name.